Welcome back to All Right Podcast. Here you have Elijah alongside Grant. We're going to get into another episode here. Lions football, another week of Hard Knocks, another preseason game down. You got a 1-point victory against the Colts. A little bit of up and down, so far across the board. But, just kind of want to throw it to you, see what your overall feeling is. And, another game in the books.
Yeah.
A week down as far as behind the scenes look, kind of what's your feelings?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, they lost in Lions type fashion last week. They tried to lose in Lions type fashion again this past preseason game. It was good to see them kind of get a monkey off their back. If I'm not mistaken, they had lost 8 straight preseason games. It's crazy to hear about that just because, you got that going, but then you also have teams like the Ravens who have won 22 in a row. So it's always kind of interesting. I feel like as, when you're in Detroit, as a Lions fan, preseason's kind of something I feel like they got to take a little bit more serious than everybody just because of where they stand as a team for, almost every year. So it was good to just kind of get that monkey off. Dan Campbell's back. I think just in a nutshell, just the episode last night, I think overall for me, my key takeaway kind of kick this off would be, I would just say, I think when we started to scrimmage with the Colts, and obviously we don't see everything and they only kind of are focusing on the Lions, but it came off as very aggressive for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing all that yelling, screaming, cussing and yelling, and just for Deuce Staley with no voice to tell them how bad they played that day.
It's not like Mike Tyson pushing them up. Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like with the last episode I did kind of, I liked my man's number 46, Reynolds, him having that moment with his brother that's in prison right now, and just, telling him I made all the mistakes, enough for you, me, and everybody else. You guys just do what you keep, to do to keep, moving forward. And I know how somebody that's kind of been on a practice squad the last couple of years, and finally, I think, earned a roster spot last year just with all the injuries and stuff. So, you just pull for guys like that. I mean, it was cool seeing Pimpleton out there, as a CMU grad. So anytime you're starting to kind of, see those type of stories, I mean, even the individual that's from Nigeria, that's only playing football for 7 years.
Yeah, they got in his background story. That was cool to see.
Yeah, so it's awesome. We kind of start to kind of see those stories from them players that are fighting to make the team and just what their why is and everything. But yeah, I would say overall, glad they pulled off a dub. They tried to give it away. I think a lot of the extra antics are starting to get a little old. And then, I think it was great just seeing some of those, players that are not, may or may not make the roster and kind of seeing their story and where they came from.
Yeah, no. So I guess I'm, kind of pick off in the middle of what you're saying here, pick up in the middle of what you're saying. No, I do think they've obviously trying very hard to on the manufacturing competitiveness, manufacturing the grit, manufacturing, a chip on your shoulder. And I wouldn't mind it half as much as if I thought it was a little more authentic. But I do think this is more or less Dan Campbell putting something in the ear of him saying, we need you to step up and be a type of leader. You've been on the, if we're talking about, Jamal Williams here, as far as he was the one that was the most aggressively talking during those drills. And I just don't know if, it didn't come across as fully authentic to me. But who fully knows, but I kind of question some of that stuff as well. And it does get old, and just kind of jumping ahead here, a few topics potentially, but when you look at, they ran a players only practice this week. That's I don't know. I don't feel like that's something you hear of all that often in NFL, especially not preseason, in the middle of camp, more or less.
Right.
So it's kind of, interesting, holding a players only type practice when we don't even know who the real team is. This is still tryouts. It's just kind of a whole bunch of unique things happening, a whole bunch of interesting things happening in general. But nonetheless, they were able to get the victory, for what it is worth. The defense did at least step up that last play, maybe a potential overthrown ball, but overall, you got the win, and it does have to feel good, because if you're going to get any momentum with this, it does have to come with the wins, even if they are quote unquote meaningless wins. Nobody wants to go out there and lose.
Right.
So I do think, this
Like I
could,
said, when your franchise has been in turmoil as long as it has been, even like a lot of Detroit sports teams are kind of on that same boat. I think it's important to be able to kind of hang your hat on, moral victories, preseason victories, just whatever is kind of trending in that right direction of getting back on the track to winning.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we just established 3 games in the preseason, so if you can mess around and not that it would mean anything, but mess around and go 2-1, let's say, then you could potentially have a little bit of momentum going into the season for that week 1 versus you're going to feel a lot better than going in there 1-2 at this point.
Yeah.
Or so, I don't know, more or less a little bit better than a moral victory, I would say.
Yeah.
But like you said, it was good to see some of those background stories, which is what I was kind of feeding for initially when they were just trying to make the coach the story. We were talking about, let's get into how Goff, which we still haven't seen, but let's get into how Goff feels about his team winning a Super Bowl the year he left. Let's get into a little more of St. Brown's story. Let's get things of that nature. And some of these guys that we've never heard of. I think they're doing a pretty good job with Rodriguez, but he also was drafted and also kind of had a little bit of a spunk about him since he got drafted. People, he was kind of a popular name in general. So, it kind of makes sense for them to, and he's good TV, and he's a wrecking ball. So he's good TV in general.
Out there just laying people out. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel you on that. I feel you. I mean, I'd love to, kind of just understand, hear more about Goff. They are, highlighting, they're definitely using Campbell as like, he's kind of like this like spearhead and everything. Almost like I said, I mean, almost like a mascot, essentially. And I think the thing I'll say about Dan Campbell is like, I think this is who he is. You know what I'm saying? I just don't know if this is like what is needed to win games. You know what I mean? And we'll just see. Like, I mean, I feel like he kept the same energy when it was 0-11 last year, which is like, okay, this is probably who he is. And I know for you and I mean, he's just an acquired taste. He's not anybody that like, we had the guy in the building that was getting things turned around. And I think, that's more of why we feel the way we do when it comes to him. But yeah, I think it's just like a style of leadership that I've never really been a fan of. I mean, for me, it still just reminds me of like high school, just like the most bizarre and off the wall thing. Yeah, the most bizarre off the wall things being said to like almost like create motivation, where these guys are grown ass men with kids, families at home, mortgages to pay for. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of it really don't, like, it's fine until if you right now, but when you're not winning, then it's like, then what? So, yeah, I mean, I feel like they, he seems bought in and just like trying to do what's necessary. But then on the flip side, it's like, why is there players, why are players like having like running a practice themselves? I mean, you don't hear Belichick doing that. You don't see Mike Tomlin doing that. John Harbaugh not doing that. And I mean, I named off some of the greatest coaches in the league right now, but that in itself is like, I mean, there's a lot of teams that aren't doing that were in the same boat as us last year. So winning cures all, man. That's all I really had to say as far as with just what he's kind of been bringing to the table so far.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I guess, not just, I don't want to just over harp on him in that situation, but overall, let's take a step back and just talk about how the roster's filling out.
Yeah.
You mentioned a guy that's fighting for the third string running back position in Reynolds. So, you kind of who you highlighted him. Is anybody else? Rodriguez has kind of stepped out. Is anybody else that, I don't know, I guess, kind of how's this roster filling out?
Yeah.
Or just kind of roster updates in general. I've recently know that they put Jameis, they put Williams on IR, so he will miss half year. Yep. We're gonna miss him at least 8 games. So things like that are starting to shape out. Some.
Yeah, I'll say one thing that's pretty important. I saw Okudah get turned around by somebody in one of the quick little highlights last night, and I'm just giving him a hard time because where he went to school at, and I don't think was worth where we drafted him. But nonetheless, I just kind of started to do some research on just like where he's at with things. People are saying he looks good. But I heard he's also fighting for like a QB or cornerback, like that CB2 spot. So he's fighting to be like, the other corner with a guy named Will Harris that I'm not even totally sure who he is or where he's from. I'm not even sure what, if we draft him or not or what that looks like overall. But that's one of those things where it's like, man, I mean, that's a, third overall pick, had a bad injury. And now, I mean, he was supposed to be kind of like the cornerstone of a defense potentially. And, now that's what we're looking at. Yeah, you got guys like, Gerard Davis was a first round pick for us 2 years back. I looked at some stuff on him because he's not putting the correct stuff on tape. I mean, there's a video circulating of him just like, I don't know if it was like a blitz or what, but basically just running past the running back. And I think we talked about it last week how, then Rodriguez comes in and takes care of the play. There's a chance he might not make the team. And I would just say, like, my takeaways just from like a roster standpoint, we ain't got no linebackers. No. Like it's cool that we got a gem in the 6th round, but we also, our best linebacker could potentially be a guy that was a gem in the 6th round. And I'm not hitting the panic button yet, but I communicated to some of the my buddies I was talking to and just said, if our linebacking core is going to be this thin looking, at least from like outside looking in, what we've seen from Hard Knocks, and obviously that's a small scale. Starters aren't maybe not playing a whole lot in the games and stuff, but I mean, it just makes me think of how maybe we shouldn't have traded Jameson, for Jameson Williams, even though he's an electric receiver, probably good for not letting him go to Green Bay or Chicago, like somewhere else in the division. But can we have used those 3-ish picks that we gave up to, get like a Nakobe Dean or, get some more some linebackers or just more, support in that side of things. So to me, it still looks like, they had a solid draft and, but as a team starts to form and just what I've been seeing and just seeing our Hard Knocks and watching in games, that defense has still got quite a few issues that need to be addressed.
Yeah. No, and you said it point blank, and it's the most accurate statement of the podcast so far. We ain't got no linebackers.
Yeah.
And the defensive line is, I think we feel obviously good about Hutchinson. But a rookie is gonna have his moments. It's gonna be hot and cold, up and down a learning curve still. Who was our 2nd round pick? Josh Pascal. He hasn't I believe he's injured as well. So although I do think we had a good draft, we said this the day of the draft, shortly afterwards, we're not a one receiver or one player type of team away. We really needed that depth. We needed those picks. We could have shored up with those 3 picks. We could have shored up one level of the defense each way, or picked up another corner and a linebacker, like you said, in Dean, and then switch around and receivers, a type of person, a type of player that you should be able to go find a good, suitable 1, 2nd, 3rd round. And if you would think, and I am kind of alarmed, and I'm interested to see how that all plays out by itself. Potentially, like you said, kept him out of Green Bay, but also, Green Bay went and took a receiver with our pick, and so they're always going to have kind of a head-to-head competition, and it's built into itself right there. So. Right. I don't know. I do think we had a lot of question marks, but overall, the offensive line does look strong. They seem to be firing off the ball.
Offense look good.
Offense does seem to look good.
They were scoring like 30 a game last year at the end of the season. Like they were moving the ball once Goff came back from injury. That's why I was like, they were doing all that without, they got DJ Shark. And you know what I'm saying? They got Reynolds that would be another year in the system. Hawkinson will be back healthy. You got Swift back healthy. Like, I understand that move for Jameson, and I think something that makes it even harder to look at is like he not even been ready until like week 10. Right. So like it's gonna be one of them things where it's like, all right, if we're 1-9, like are we gonna, what I'm saying? It's like, are we gonna give him a season to just kind of do what he does, or is it like, what I mean? It's kind of hard to like be optimistic, when
that is true. If we're out there, do you bring him back if we're not even in the fight? Yeah. And that is a good question.
Right.
And I guess he did that what?
He tore it like February.
Championship. Yeah. So I guess he's not technically behind schedule because they about a year.
I would say, I mean, even, I think they got to just kind of put him on there because he's not able to practice or nothing, like that PUP list or whatever. But But yeah, I mean, I would say like he should be at full strength come like October, uh, November timeframe, which is right around that 8 to 10 week mark. But yeah, it's just tough, right? Like you, as a fan, you're like, if we're gonna be drafting people. I mean, we've drafted him and he's hurt. Pascal had injury issues when he was hurt, um, or he had injury issues when he was in college. Excuse me. And then we also had I think we drafted a tight end like 6th round that tore his ACL in like September. That's also hasn't been really doing a ton, just because he's like, still kind of on a mend from that. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not trying to, it's August 24th. I'm not trying to like freak out, but it's like, I want to be able to like watch a good product on Sundays. And I just feel like this is where it's like, okay, I know we're always defensive minded and just want to be more, on that side of things and just want to, strengthen that up because you can't. I mean, we saw how the Super Bowl was won this year with defense. It happens. Super Bowl defense wins Super Bowls all the time. Granted, we're far off from that, but like defense will win the division, defense will get you to the playoffs, defense will help you win games. Like, it trickles down, right? So it's early still, but I think I would have felt a lot better if some of the holes that we both, analyzed for months and months, if those were taken more into consideration rather than trying to grab the shiny new toy, in the first round just because it might have got to somebody else. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I agree. Um, I do think the offense looks pretty on point, and obviously this is a big year for Golf. I know, actually you did not say this on camera, but there's a few quarterbacks you'd rather have than Golf. But in general, I think if he stays healthy, the offense probably will be pretty solid. I do feel confident about that. Obviously, barring major injuries, but I say if Golf can stay healthy, I'd be interested to see what he can do this year. It is kind of a make it break year for him as well. Yeah. Nobody thinks he's going to be around, but I do think we could even see whether we need him. Want to keep him around to try to train a new quarterback that we get, or keep him around. Is he even worth that, or should we just get this 30-something million off the books as fast as possible?
Trying to cut him or something. Might have to. Yeah, might come to that.
I think his injuries and or him staying healthy and all that good stuff. I think
he's just limited.
Yeah, he is.
That's who he is. I mean, like you saw, it had to be perfect in Los Angeles for them to be as successful as they were. And like when it wasn't perfect, they struggled quite a bit. And he did, and he does. Durability is starting to become quite a bit of a concern. He got hurt at the last year in LA, and then was hurt last year too. So it's part of the game, but it's still like, I mean, we only play 17 games, so we need try to do what we can to be full strength as possible. But that happens. What did you think of just like when the comedian came down? I thought that was pretty cool. I
did actually.
I had to like rewind it because I thought I was actually a player, and I'm like, bro, my man's is tripping.
But I thought, yeah, no.
Right. I'm like, well, I mean, did he decide that this ain't for him and just want to go out with a bang or what? But yeah, no,
honestly, I thought the comedian that's a good point. I thought the comedian in general was a good touch. Something I don't recall seeing before. Yeah. Usually I know they try to bring in some sort of entertainment or a motivational speaker or something along those lines. But I do think he was lighthearted, poking fun at the coach. And I think something about Campbell, he knows that he's easy to make fun of. I mean, he had a statement this week saying,
"The dumber we look."
Yeah,
the more they think I am, the better off we are. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I guess we're in good hands then.
Okay.
But I think. Yeah, but so I think all that in general just shows that he's showing that he doesn't want to take himself too serious. So I guess that's a good thing. I don't know if necessarily if Belichick is letting somebody come up there and make fun of him. Technical difficulty here. I don't know if Belichick is letting him come up there and make fun of him or not. But it's gonna be interesting to see how that all plays out. But in general, I thought that was a good time. I want to see the uncut footage, not the short end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think even that was a good little scene. And then even just, hearing about the moment that Aaron Glenn had with Hutch.
Oh.
And he's just like, yeah, I'm just glad that you are who we thought you were. And I just kind of like really left it at that. And I think it's one of these things, like I try not to get too worked up about how bad the defense looks. I'm trying not to get too worked up about how good Hutchinson looks, because it's, I'm not sitting here like, who's number so-and-so for the Colts? Are they a starter? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, all right, like he's winning his one-on-one. So, he definitely belongs here. But I'll just be interested to see, like, what belonging here like really looks like. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that like, I don't know. I think he'll, he's definitely the favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'd say it'd probably be him or Sauce Gardner. One of those two will probably end up taking that home at the end of the season. But it's just reassuring,
I mean, obviously they could probably cut the film and make him look bad if they wanted to.
Right.
But what they're showing us, he looks very formidable.
Yeah.
This is the second or third time where we've heard coaches talking to themselves or players talking to themselves about how he looks legit. He is who thought he was.
Yeah.
We watched him play for 4 years. I didn't have a doubt that he would be a good player. But now the way they're making it look and some of the talk about it, I'm wondering if he could be, is he TJ Watt stratosphere? Is he, at first people were saying Jared Allen. Is he going to be that?
Both brothers.
Yeah. Where's he fall? But if he's any of them type of people where he has a notable name, we obviously hit.
Yep. So, I just hope he's like 2-3-time Pro Bowler. I'm being generous, right? But like 80, 90, 100 career sacks when it's all said and done after like 10. I hope he's like that kind of, that's like, obviously we want him to be the best defensive player of all time. That'd be great for us. But like, if he could just kind of be a cornerstone and just be, super consistent, stay healthy, just, dominate his matchup. It's looking like that's what that's what we're going to be expecting from him long term.
It is. And then, this just popped in my head here, but, and then the other, you talk about Sauce Gardner. We've seen an unfortunate injury from Thibodeau. Obviously, we got to cherish what we got while we have it. You never know. They're playing a dangerous game. So it's good. It'll be very excited to see, just how he, for what it's worth, Sauce Gardner, Detroit kid, Hutch, Metro Detroit kid, so we got a potential defensive rookie of the year coming out of the mid here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think overall, man, like I said, solid episode. Probably definitely want to see more of other players. I'm cool seeing Hutch, but like would love to, what I'm saying, is kind of see more of these other like guys. And they had Brockers talking for a little bit. It's about how, DBs had a bad diet, whatever. Like, but it's just.
No, I mean, there's a couple of storylines they haven't touched on at all. I mean,
right. So it'd be just more.
We haven't seen Jameis Williams at all on, my knowledge on camera. And excuse me, I'm drawing a blank on it, but I know we drafted a guy from Jackson State.
Houston. James Houston. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, we haven't. There's a story there. We could show him and down some footage down there, and all that good stuff. I think there's a bunch of stories that they're missing out on because they're really trying to hammer home some other stories. But I think there's a couple good, just background stories. I think they should look into and explore and get us to know some of these other players in where they're unique situations.
I agree.
So we both rocking in Michigan too.
Yeah.
Got my coach tire on.
Say it again.
I got my official coach attire.
Yeah.
No,
it's
can I think up to the people?
No, that's all. Like I said, we got 2 more episodes. They did it perfectly to where the last episode is going to be the week of the first week 1. So you'll start seeing some roster cuts probably coming in that next episode. I'm just looking forward to kind of seeing. Yeah, looking forward to seeing more behind the scenes and who gets to replace David Blau on the roster.
Yeah, we got a whole episode on that. No, I feel you on that. We'll be back at you next week with another episode.
Till next time.